what it comes down to is that everything makes a difference. You know, anything you do, you're probably going to hear a difference. So that's why you have to be listening all the time when you're doing things or changing things or trying something new or whatever. You've always got to keep referencing yourself to at least what you used to use and make sure that you're going in a good direction. Because you hear all these stories about people that say, yeah, we got the latest board and we put it in and nobody likes it. You know, it's supposed to be great. The specs look really good. But think about this. When they check out a board, say an analog board, and they check harmonic distortion and intermodulation distortion, that's a very basic measurement. It only gets you in the ballpark. It tells you a little bit about some of the quality of the equipment, but it's only done with tones, like two tones, how well it separates two tones through the circuit, and things like that. But it never tells you what complex information is going to do when it goes through that circuit. And that's why you have to use your ears. There's nothing that can measure how well something passes a complex signal, except your ears. This board, a lot of people look at it and they go, boy, he says, is this an API board? You know, because the knobs we buy from the same company that API buys the knobs from. But that's the only thing that's like an API. Are the knobs. It just so happens that they're metal knobs, and you can get them with just a mark or a vein. You can get different sizes. You can get all these different things. And they're metal, too. They'll last and they hold up. So that's the only thing that you might consider being like an API, are the knobs. But these are completely built by us. It's in our design. And of course, everything's run off of our power supplies. Now, we do a combination of things, though, when we set things up. And we use a Pro Tools playback. It's kind of like our tape playback. We either have tape or we have Pro Tools, but when we have files, we have a Pro Tools unit that we play back everything from. And of course, but we don't care what sampling rate it is. It can be, sometimes we get in things from 5 different mixers, and they've got all different sampling rates and bit rates. That's okay. We play it back the way it was recorded, but we convert everything to analog. And then we equalize with analog equalizers. We don't use digital equalizers. We never found any that we really like. Sometimes we use them. I'm not saying we don't use them. Sometimes we need something, like I was saying earlier, we need something that we can't quite get with our analog ones. You know, we need something that's maybe ultra sharp, and we can't change the cue to that sharpness because the digital ones are more flexible, but they do have a thumbprint. They have a sound to them. When you put them in the circuit, you're going to hear it, but sometimes it's worth it. And my only rule of thumb is that if you're going to do something like that, or you're even going to put some sort of plug-in in your mix or whatever, just make sure you're getting more than you're losing. You know, make sure that it's worthwhile. And that's okay. We're fine with that too. We'll use a plug-in or an equalizer or something in the computer, but we prefer to use our analog equalizers because they're more musical. So if we can get by with that, that's fine. So everything gets converted through a Lavery that's highly modified with our line amps, our power supplies, and so forth. But we like Lavery. We did listening tests. We found the one that we thought was the best sounding, and then we hot rodded it and made it better. So that's kind of what we do. We find whatever's on the market that we feel is the best, and then we make it better. So everything goes through that, and then we do whatever manipulations we want there. But we use a combination many times of compression and limiting, or we use a plug-in if we have to. Because sometimes plug-ins can handle some certain complex signals that like an analog compressor can't do, or even a simple digital peak limiter it can't handle. Some of these signals, the way the harmonic structure is, you need something that analyzes more of the signal. And sometimes the plug-in works fine. So when it gets equalized, of course, we're listening now through everything though. We're listening off the computer. So in other words, it's going through the whole system. It's being converted to whatever new sampling rate that we're going to put for the master. It could even be 96, could be 1, it doesn't matter. We're listening off of what we're going to record on the computer. So we're coming from the Pro Tools or the files, the WAV files or whatever. We're coming into, and we're converting it to analog. We're going through the system. We're doing analog equalization usually. And then we're applying some sort of compression limiting or plug-in on the output. Because when it comes to the levels that people want nowadays, and when it comes to a lot of digital things, you have to, and you're working on complex signals like pop music and so forth, something that has a lot of density, you have to have fast limiters. And the only ones that are fast are digital limiters. Digital is faster than analog ones. Analog ones are a little bit slow, and they don't really catch the leading edge of the transient. They're not fast enough. They can't quite do it. So you might get distortion on the board compressor. So that might be something we use as a pre-limiting or compression, just to kind of like make it easier for the peak limiter to work. Because peak limiters are fast, and everything sounds more transient and less compressed. But if it's an extension, if there's a signal that's extended, like bottom end, or something that extends, a peak limiter, a fast peak limiter won't handle it. You'll get crackling and breakup and so forth because it's too fast. It has to hold on longer. It's going to want to keep shutting off, and so you're going to get a lot of noise. So we have to analyze the signal. We have to decide what to use, what combination to use. So it might be 3 different things. It could be even the plug-in, the peak limiter, because these are all kind of separate things. It could be the board compressor, it could be all 3 of them, or it could be only one. It depends on how it was mixed, and those are all decisions that you have to decide on. We start out one way because we don't want to degrade the sound any more than we have to. But sometimes certain clients want the loud sound, they want a lot of level, and sometimes we have to use a combination of things, and then sometimes we have to resort to plugins.